3 days before the opening ceremony of Madison Gardens, I stood in the marble foyer watching my Uncle William's expression transform from smug condescension to utter disbelief. The color draining from his face as the reality of his situation became clear. All those years of undermining me, of dismissing my abilities and ambitions, they had led to this perfectly orchestrated moment of revelation. "This is some kind of joke," he managed to say, his voice lacking its usual authoritative edge. I smiled, feeling the weight of years lifting from my shoulders. "No joke, Uncle William. Just the culmination of very careful planning." His eyes darted around the restored lobby, taking in the original crown molding we'd painstakingly recreated, the chandeliers that matched my grandfather's vision, and the faces of board members watching this long overdue reckoning. But perhaps I should begin at the beginning. My name is Eliza Bennett. I was 28 when my grandfather, Henry Bennett, passed away, leaving behind a complex legacy and a complicated family dynamic. Grandfather had built Bennett Developments from nothing, transforming it into one of the city's most respected property companies. I remember him as a tall figure with kind eyes that crinkled when he smiled. Every Sunday, he would take me for walks through the city, pointing out buildings and sharing stories. "Each building has a soul, Eliza," he would say. "It's our job to make sure that soul serves the people inside it." Everyone expected my father, James, to take over the company, but he died unexpectedly in a car accident when I was 15, leaving me in the care of my aunt and uncle. I still remember the funeral, the rain, the whispers, and Uncle William's hand on my shoulder, too heavy, already calculating the shift in family dynamics. Uncle William stepped in to run the company temporarily. That arrangement stretched into 13 years of him dismantling my grandfather's vision in favor of quick profits. Within the first year, William replaced half of the executive team with his own people, men who shared his philosophy that business was about maximization, not obligation. Meanwhile, I was relegated to the background, the orphan niece who needed to be looked after, but never truly included. Family dinners were exercises in polite exclusion. Conversations about the company would halt when I entered the room. "You're too much like your father, Eliza," Uncle William would say whenever I questioned his decisions, his voice carrying that particular blend of condescension and fake concern. All heart and no business sense. That's what got him nowhere. What William didn't know was that my father had been my grandfather's true confidant. While William saw only spreadsheets and profit margins, my father understood that Bennett Developments was built on relationships and integrity. My grandfather had taught my father everything, and my father had passed that knowledge to me. I could still picture those Saturdays clearly. My father lifting me onto his shoulders to see the framework of a new building, introducing me to foremen and architects who treated me as a future leader, teaching me to read blueprints while my mother brought us hot chocolate. "The buildings we create will outlast us," he'd tell me. "Make sure they stand for something worthwhile." When I graduated with my master's degree in urban planning, I approached Uncle William about taking a position in the company. "I'm not sure that's wise," he said, barely looking up from his computer. "This is a cutthroat business, Eliza. Perhaps something in marketing would be more suitable for someone with your sensibilities." His wife, Aunt Vivian, nodded in agreement. "William is only thinking of what's best for you, dear. Besides, you wouldn't want to compete with your cousin. Richard is being groomed to take over someday." Richard, 2 years my junior and with half my qualifications, had been installed as vice president of operations straight out of his undergraduate program. He spent most of his time taking extended lunches and claiming credit for the work of others. I swallowed my pride and accepted a minor position in community relations. William didn't realize this position was perfect for my purposes. From this overlooked corner, I could access records, observe operations, and connect with employees at all levels. I built my own network, learning every aspect of the business from the ground up. Maria Delgado, who had been my grandfather's executive assistant for 30 years before William demoted her, became my mentor. "Your grandfather always said the real business happened at ground level, not in boardrooms," she told me. Through Maria, I connected with longtime employees who had been sidelined under William's leadership. Many were just waiting for someone to restore the company's original mission. The turning point came 18 months into my employment. Maria showed me evidence that William had been diverting company resources to a separate entity registered under his wife's maiden name, Harrington Holdings. William had been identifying promising properties, having associates approach owners with lowball offers, citing urban blight. Once acquired by Harrington Holdings at these deflated prices, the properties would be contracted to Bennett Developments for renovations at inflated costs. The profits flowed to William and Vivian, while Bennett Developments' resources were drained. Most disturbing was his plan for Madison Gardens. This historic property had been my grandfather's first major acquisition. He'd mortgaged everything to save it from demolition, preserving its Victorian architecture while creating affordable housing for teachers, nurses, and civil servants. William planned to demolish it and replace it with luxury condominiums called the Madison, keeping only the name as a cynical nod to history. Market forces, he explained during a board meeting when questioned. Sentiment has no place in business. What William didn't know was that my grandfather had left me a separate inheritance through a trust that matured on my 28th birthday. The trust included substantial funds, properties held separately from Bennett Developments, and a letter. Asterisk, my dearest Eliza, asterisk. Asterisk, I've watched you grow into a remarkable young woman with your father's heart and your grandmother's determination. A powerful combination, asterisk. Asterisk, your father saw the big picture. William never will. His vision extends only to the next quarterly report, never to the next generation. The company is legally his to run, but the soul of Bennett Developments belongs to those who understand its true purpose. Wait, watch, learn, then act when the time is right, asterisk. Asterisk, trust in your judgment. You'll know when that moment comes, asterisk. Asterisk, all my love, asterisk. Asterisk, grandfather, asterisk. I used those funds to establish EB Innovations. By day, I was the unassuming niece working in the basement of Bennett Developments. By night, I was the driving force behind a company that embodied the original Bennett vision. Our first project transformed an abandoned factory into a mixed-use space with affordable housing and business incubators. We completed it on time and under budget, winning an award for adaptive reuse. When William announced the demolition of Madison Gardens, I acted. First, I secretly purchased the properties surrounding Madison Gardens through intermediaries. Next, working with my grandfather's attorney, I began acquiring Bennett Development stock. Years of Williams' leadership had caused the stock to underperform, making it possible for me to accumulate shares at reasonable prices. Meanwhile, I gathered documentation of Williams' questionable dealings and hired the best architects and preservationists to develop an alternative plan for Madison Gardens, one that would honor its history while updating it for the future. When William tried to secure permits for his luxury condominiums, he discovered that access to the site was now controlled by various property owners who refused to cooperate, all ultimately controlled by EB Innovations. William was furious. He tried threats, bribery, and finally, a direct confrontation with the mysterious EB Innovations. That's when I arranged our meeting at Madison Gardens itself. The building had been secretly renovated over the previous year. Instead of being demolished, it had been lovingly restored while updating the infrastructure to modern standards. It would remain affordable housing with additional community spaces. I don't understand, William fumed as he stormed into the foyer where I waited. Who do you think you are, interfering with Bennett business? I'll sue you into oblivion. That would be difficult, I replied calmly, considering that EB Innovations is now the majority shareholder in Bennett Developments. His face contorted in confusion. What are you talking about? That's impossible. Not impossible, Uncle William, just carefully planned. I handed him a folder containing documentation of his financial improprieties, along with proof that I had been systematically purchasing Bennett Development stock through my company. Your creative accounting provided the leverage I needed with the board members. As he flipped through the pages, his expression shifted from anger to shock to fear. You can't do this. You don't know how to run a company of this size. Actually, I do. I learned from my grandfather and my father. And unlike you, I understand that a company's value isn't measured solely by its profit margin. The doors opened and board members began to enter, along with key employees who had been loyal to my grandfather's vision. They had all been invited to the grand reopening of Madison Gardens and the announcement of Bennett Development's new direction. William tried to regain his composure. This is a mistake. Eliza is inexperienced. Eliza has demonstrated exceptional business acumen, interrupted Mrs. Chen, the longest-serving board member. Her proposals for sustainable development are exactly what this company and this city needs. The board has voted, William. It's done. I watched as 13 years of arrogance crumbled before me. William straightened his tie, trying to salvage his dignity. You'll regret this. You're too soft for this business. No, Uncle William, I'm exactly what this business needs, someone who understands that development isn't just about buildings, it's about communities. He stormed out, Aunt Vivian trailing behind him. Richard lingered, looking uncertain. What happens to me? He asked. That depends on you, I replied. If you're willing to actually learn the business from the ground up, there's a place for you. But no more corner offices without earning them. The opening ceremony for Madison Gardens took place 3 days later. The event highlighted not just the restored building but the new Bennett Development's mission, to create spaces that honored history while serving community needs. As I cut the ribbon, I thought about my grandfather and father. Their portraits hung in the main hallway, a reminder of the true Bennett legacy. Next to them was a simple plaque that read, "Building not just for profit, but for people." 6 months later, William and Vivian relocated to another state, their reputation in business circles damaged. Richard surprisingly embraced the opportunity to earn his position, working in various departments and developing a genuine understanding of the business. As for me, I continued my grandfather's vision, expanding affordable housing projects throughout the city. Each development included something special: community gardens, educational spaces, or art installations. Elements that transformed mere buildings into thriving communities. Last week, a young developer approached me after a business conference. "Ms. Bennett," she said, "I admire what you've done with Bennett Developments. But how do you balance profitability with social responsibility? My partners keep pushing for maximum returns." I remembered my grandfather's words. The true measure of success isn't in the balance sheet at the end of the year. It's in the lives improved by the spaces we create. The secret, I told her, is understanding that doing good and doing well aren't mutually exclusive. The builders who focus only on immediate profit never create lasting legacies. As we parted, I handed her my card. Call me if you ever want to discuss a partnership. The industry needs more builders and fewer profiteers. Walking back to my office through the revitalized downtown, much of it now bearing the subtle influence of Bennett Development's philosophy, I felt a deep satisfaction. The family legacy was intact, not as a monument to wealth or power, but as a testament to vision and values. Sometimes the most effective response to those who underestimate you isn't a confrontation, but a demonstration. Success, properly achieved, speaks volumes, and buildings, thoughtfully created, tell stories that outlast us all.